I don't look at weather in advance. I just heard about this and this. What's your like? How much have you guys prepared for this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've had the wet ball stuff going, and we've played there before in inclement weather. Certainly, it sounds even more maybe than. I think the wind is obviously a big factor here. The rain can be, and we've talked about it every day, really. And so you just you understand, how your game shifts oftentimes is not unusual per the weather. So we'll keep up to speed on that. But we've seen the same forecast every day.
Does the play calling change?
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
Sean, the Seahawks are honoring Matt Hasselbeck this weekend. What do you remember about him?
Shoot, I remember working him out at Boston College. I was at the Giants, I believe. We had a meal in one of the dorms, and I remember calling him during the draft. I can't recall the year. What was his draft class?
98 or something like that, maybe.
Had to be 99.
Okay.
Because I don't think I would have been at the Eagles. I'm guessing it was 99. You might be right. Yeah, and I remember, man, he made a throw in our playoff game in 10. I want to say it was like third or fourth down, and he gets hit as he throws it into a zero blitz, but it was an impressive throw, and I think it was a critical play in that game. I'd have to go back and look at it. But he's been, a tremendous, not only player but person, and ambassador to the league, and it's a good honor.
Sean, when you guys talk about finding your identity or making up your identity, what are the things that go into making up a team's identity?
Well, I think it starts with that team's personnel. In other words, who you are. And, believe it or not, you're always getting educated as a coach. You're learning more and more about your players. But I think it starts with that. And then, look, you're spending a lot of time, obviously, on the fundamentals, the grit, the toughness, how to win each week. But specifically to your identity, a lot of it has to do with your own personnel.
So that's something you figure out. You aren't trying to fit into, a preconceived notion or anything like that.
No, you're trying to use, your personnel the best way you can.
Alvin said yesterday that you like proving people wrong. Like when you get into these situations where you're dealing with injuries or the hurricane, stuff like that, people kind of doubt you.
Well, I had this question earlier in the week, I believe, from Jeff, and I just think it's human nature. Forget sport; it could be in anyone's industry. You don't feel well one day, you miss, and so your performance you have an excuse built in. And so I just think, look, the one thing about this environment is it's obviously very competitive, and so, yeah, I mean, there's a part of you that wants to. You're going to have to overcome some obstacles, and every team is. I think it's not just one team. No one wants to hear this is the 5th of 6 road games. In other words, however many starters were out, all those things. That's pretty. That happens in our league, and you hopefully you get healthy. Near the end of the season, and you're playing better. But I just think that it can become an easy, exit door.
Does that mindset come from Parcells?
Oh, probably, yeah. But I think a number of people. Bill was real good at identifying it. And so when an injured player would come back into the lineup, Bill made sure during the week that. He wasn't dipping his toe in the water. He was all in because, it wasn't going to be if you didn't play well, then you had a reason, and so, yeah, I think he was real good that way.
I think it was Malcolm who was saying these have been some of the best practices of the season. Have you sensed that this week?
It's been good. I mean, guys, we had time off, obviously, and it's been competitive.
Sean, is your attention to detail something that's just always been natural, or is that something you've developed over the years?
I think you develop it as a coach. And you understand that every little thing matters. And if it matters out here on the football field, it probably matters then in the weight room, and it probably matters in the locker room, and it probably matters in the food training room, and it probably matters in everything you do. Because I think, how do you separate, well, this doesn't matter. Certainly there's priorities, but I think you develop it maybe a little bit more so as a coach.
Not related to this game, but the 10-year anniversary of Pete calling his first game.
I saw that.
What do you remember about that?
We made a note of it in the quarterback meeting today. So here's what I remember. Obviously, I had just had the surgery on Monday, and so it was that following Sunday night. It was Sunday night football, and I don't know what the score was at halftime. Payton was hurt, I know that, and so they were shorthanded. And we did a lot of good things, and believe it or not, we had just lost to Tampa, but that was gonna begin a good roll here, a good stretch of games. You know, I don't know if we had another loss, probably somewhere in there, but we were going to win like 10 of the next 11 or something like that, with a really good, that was one of our better teams. But no, Pete got a game ball, and anytime any one of us is absent from anything we do, and then what we're doing just excels while you're absent, there's that, like, well, I got to get back to work. I got to hurry up and rehab this leg. Anyway, yeah, I remember it.
Stat of the week.
Stat of the week this week. Let's see. Our red zone numbers are good. I would say the one thing when you look at it is you just stare at our offensive red zone numbers. You'd say, hey, the one thing we got to get there more, and because we're operating at a pretty high level defensively the same way. Yeah, that would be it. Stat of the week would be, I think, the mile per hour wind, or what was the term they used?
Bomb cyclone.
Have you ever heard that?
I just said I've never heard that before.
Yeah, but only because
you've heard of that.
So there was one in Nebraska a couple years ago, and that's where my mom lives, and so she was talking all about it because she loves the weather.
I've never heard that term though. I've heard of a cyclone or whatever. I've just never heard. And so, yeah, I mean that obviously would be the extreme.
Sean, you guys signed Brian Johnson and have to keep him for 3 weeks, even though Will Lutz was ready to return to practice this week. Is he, like, in particularly a really strong kickoff leg or anything, or that's just until Will's ready to get
No, listen, we really like the prospect, and so each week we're closely evaluating Will, but 3 weeks we felt comfortable with that, and it doesn't suggest that Will won't kick for 3 weeks. It's not a big price to pay roster-wise.
With the practice squad rules, does that kind of change how you look at the 53? Is it easier to stash somebody now?
You're not stashing, really. It's certainly much more flexible relative to bringing players up. But I don't think, like, we're finding, it's not like you're gaining, everyone's kind of operating with the same number count. Clubs have, and I think really to the players' benefit, they have more flexibility. There's more places to be. If you're a football player, when the practice squads were lower, there were less places to be. And so now that veterans can be on that practice squad, younger players can be on that practice squad, and, you're at 16. So, I mean, I just think that, when you hear the term developmental league, I kind of look at it not necessarily that way, but we're developing everyone here. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.